Hey yogis, thank you so much for joining me for another online virtual yoga practice. So today we're going to just have a quick, short, sweet morning stretch to help open up through the body when it's feeling a little bit tighter. So you can also practice this after a busy day, or if you're wanting to do this like post-workout, if you've been quite strength building. This is just going to be a nice way of releasing those muscles. Here in the UK, the clocks went forward. It would be last weekend by the time that this goes out. So everyone's feeling a little bit groggy in the mornings. We've kind of got like this clock hangover where first thing in the morning it can feel a little bit unmotivating and a bit dark and a bit dreary. So hopefully this way we're going to have a nice deep stretch, a nice opening through the body, and you're going to feel ready and more prepared for your day ahead. Now it's probably worth noting as well that, well, for me at least, and a lot of people I know, first thing in the morning I'm a lot tighter. My body is just not having it. So if you're feeling that maybe your body is a little bit more restrictive in these postures, don't push it to your full extent. Make sure you modify with as many props, blocks, things like that as you would like, and just take it each pose as it comes. So I really hope you enjoy your practice today. Thank you so much for joining me once again. And today, as you go forward, I wish you peace in your thoughts, peace in your words, and peace in your heart. Namaste. Okay, so we're actually just going to begin in a child's pose. So coming down onto your shins. You can have your knees together or your knees more like mat distance apart. You want your toes touching beneath your sit bones. And then you just extend the arms long, release the forehead down towards the floor. If it doesn't reach the floor, then you can rest it down onto a block or a cushion. And I just want you to connect to the breath. Breathing in, breathing out through the nose. On the exhalation, we create that restriction to the back of the throat, creating the ocean-like sound. And as this is early morning, and in the UK anyway, we're into spring now, fully into spring, you can set yourself an intention for the day. This can be a small change that you'd like to make, a small habit, or a mantra or a phrase, or just a general feeling that you'd like to bring with you for the rest of the day. And this small change today can help prepare you for the rest of the season as we begin to incorporate these little habits and they become lifestyle changes, hopefully taking steps in the right direction to become healthy, strong, joyful people. Take one more breath in. Exhale fully. Inhale, pressing through the knees, come back up to a tabletop position. So your knees are underneath your hips, feet are flat out behind you. Wrists pressing firmly into the earth, ground down through the hands as we strengthen through the arms to create space around the upper back. Inhale, we open up through the front side of the body into cow pose. Lift the chest forward, crown of the head reaches up towards the sky, lengthens through the spine. So don't crunch in the lower back. Feel space between the tailbone and the crown of the head. As we exhale, we round the spine, lift and separate those shoulder blades, really firmly pressing into the hands. Root down through the index finger and the thumb as if you're trying to press the earth away from you. Inhale, once more we open through the front side of the body. See if you can bring the movement into the upper back as well, opening in and around the heart space. Exhale, round, lifting the space between the shoulder blades. One more round of each, inhaling, and exhale to round. Inhale, come back to a neutral spine. Lift that left hand all the way up to the sky on the same inhalation. And then exhale, we sweep the left arm underneath the right. Drop down onto the left ear, the left shoulder, getting a stretch to the outer left shoulder. This can be a really nice stretch for the deltoid muscle. For some people this gets quite tight. If you do a lot of heavy weight work, this can get really tight. So this can feel like a really nice way of opening that up. Otherwise it's just a nice way of opening around the upper back. Inhale, pressing through the right hand, reach that left hand all the way up to the sky, and then exhale, release the left hand down. Inhale, right hand up, reach, 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 create the space, and then exhale, right arm underneath the left, come down onto the right shoulder, the right ear, looking towards the right fingertips. Keep the hips over the knees, stacked over the top, and the tops of the feet grounding into the earth. So this should feel like a stretch on the outside of the upper right arm. Keep connected to the breath. Inhale, pressing through the left hand, we'll reach, reach, reach. With those right fingertips, exhale, release the right hand down. Inhale, we're going to walk the hands forward. You can also bring them a little bit wider than shoulder distance apart. And then as we exhale, we release the forehead, the chin or the chest down towards the floor or the mat, or the block if the forehead doesn't reach the earth. We stretch out the backs of the arms, the triceps, and also around the chest, getting a lovely deep opening through the upper back. Feel the heart melting down towards the floor as the hips continue to stay stacked over the knees. And you can always support your knees if you ever feel discomfort here. Take one more breath in. Exhale, just allow the chest to go a little bit deeper towards the floor. And then inhale, walking the hands all the way back up so your wrists are back underneath your shoulders. And we're just going to take a few little movements. We're going to take breath to movement. We're not going to do full sun salutations because, as I said, it can be hard enough to kind of motivate yourself to get up. You're welcome to include full sun salutations if you like, but I'm just going to take some little movements to help warm up the spine. So just bring the palms of the hands forward a couple of inches, and then we're going to tuck the toes under, lift those knees up, so the heels are charging back towards the back of the room, so we're in a high plank. And then as we exhale, you can either lower your knees, chest and chin, or just lower down from high to low plank until you come down onto the belly. Inhale, flatten the body, lift up through baby cobra. So using the strength of the muscles in the spine, stay open through the chest, look forward, try to avoid over squeezing the glutes, and the tops of the feet rest down to the mat. Exhale, pressing through the hands, grounding underneath the shoulders, press the hips back, child's pose. Inhale, coming forward to high plank. Exhale, lower down with control. Take the movement slowly using your core. Inhale, baby cobra, using the strength of the spine. You shouldn't be putting the weight into the hands. Exhale, child's pose. Just taking a few more rounds. Inhale, slide those hands forward, tucking under the toes, lifting the knees. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, baby cobra. You're really using the strength of the spine. Avoid over squeezing the glutes. Exhale. Pressing back through hands and knees, hips back to heels. Child's pose. Inhale, sliding the hands forward. Exhale, lower. Inhale. Exhale, child's pose. We'll just do one more round. Hopefully feeling a little bit of warmth building within the body. Inhale, high plank. Exhale. Inhale, baby cobra, elbows into ribs. Exhale, child's pose. Take a couple of breaths. Bringing your mind's eye back to the intention that you've set yourself. Inhale. Lifting back up onto hands and knees, bring the right foot forward to the space between the hands. Let the knee remain stacked over the right ankle in line with the second and the third toe. You can keep the left knee where it is or bring it back a couple of inches to help deepen the stretch in the front of the left thigh. Inhale, we come up. Okay, so interlacing the palms of the hands, interlacing the fingers to the palms of the hands, press down onto the right thigh. Squeeze the left glute to help open up the front of the left thigh a little bit more. breathing with sound. Shoulder blades draw down the back and away from each other, soft through the elbows. Lengthen the tailbone towards the floor to avoid hyperextension in the lower back. Take one more breath in. Exhale, bring both hands down to either side of the right foot, just straightening the right leg, pressing the left hip over the left knee. We're coming into, this is called half splits. And you can begin to fold forward over that right leg. If your hands struggle to reach the floor here, you can place blocks on either side of the right leg and just try to stay lengthened through the spine. Avoid rounding through the spine. And instead, imagine you're trying to lengthen the tailbone towards the back of the mat. And you can look towards the toe or look straight ahead. Feeling a deep opening along the back of the right leg, opening through the hamstring. Take one more breath in. Exhale, just go a tiny bit deeper into the pose. Inhale, coming forward again to that low lunge. We're going to make our way to Pigeon Pose. So heel toe the right foot over to the left wrist. Release the right knee down towards the floor. So this should feel like a deep stretch already in the outside of the right hip. If it feels painful in the knee, just bring the right ankle closer towards the left hip bone. So at more of an angle. And if that still feels painful, just hold on and I'll show you a modification so it won't put so much pressure on the knee. So you're welcome to stay here, or if you have the space, you can begin to scooch that left leg back so the right hip sits down towards the floor. You probably want a block here underneath the right sit bone so that you can be supported. And you have a couple of options. You can stay upright, and what this does is it takes a stretch deeper into the front of the left thigh, or you can begin to recline forward, and this will take it deeper into the outside hip of the right leg. And just begin to use the breath as a guide. Inhaling, we create the space, and exhale, maybe we allow ourselves to surrender just a little bit deeper to the pose. If you find that your left leg is beginning to roll off to one side, so you notice that your hips are beginning to shift, you can tuck the toes under on the left foot. That should help stabilize the pelvis towards the front of the mat. Okay, the modification, if this feels painful in the knee, come on the back, come down onto the back and cross the right ankle over the left thigh. So above the knee, keep the right toes flexed towards the right knee. You can work with this or gently draw the left knee in towards the chest. You should again be feeling it in the outside of the right hip, not the knee joint. Wherever we are, just take one more full breath in. Exhale fully. Inhale, walk the hands back up if they weren't already. Tuck the toes under on the left foot. Lift that right leg high. We just come into a three-legged downward dog just to release that leg. It should feel nice. If not, just come into a tabletop instead. And then release the right leg down. Again, dropping down onto the knees, coming into that tabletop position. So bring the left foot forward. I'm going to come onto all of those on the other side. Keep the left knee tracked over the left ankle in line with the second and the third toe. You can keep your right knee underneath the right hip or begin to bring it back a couple of inches to get a deeper stretch in the front of the right thigh. Find your stability here, find your balance, ground down through the left foot. And then inhale, coming up, nice and tall through the spine. Interlace the fingers, place the palms of the hands on the top of the left thigh, looking forward. Squeeze the right glute. This will help open up the front of the right thigh a little bit more. Square the hips off to the front of the mat. Shoulder blades soften, elbows soften. But we find a lovely opening around the chest, the heart, almost as if you're kind of lifting the sternum up towards the space in front of you. And use the breath. Inhale, we create the space, and exhale, maybe we can sink those hips a little bit closer towards the earth, maintaining a long spine, so tailbone tips down towards the floor as the crown of the head extends up towards the sky. Avoid overarching in the lower back because you might risk compressing the lumbar spine. Take one more breath in. Exhale, bring both hands to either side of the left foot. Bringing that right hip over the right knee, stretching the left leg out. So I forgot to mention on the other side, we are working on flexing the toes back towards the knee to help open up the hamstrings. But if that does feel uncomfortable, or if you feel really unbalanced, you are welcome to keep the foot resting on the floor, the sole of the foot on the floor. And again, you may want blocks here, but just making sure we're nice and tall through the spine. Don't collapse through the lumbar back. Okay, one more breath in. And then exhale, we fold fully into the pose. Maintaining the balance here, because this is a challenging balance as well. We're kind of just working our way on one knee and one heel of a foot. So use the hands as much as you can to support yourself. If that means using blocks, then please use the blocks. One more full breath, inhaling. Exhale, just surrender a tiny bit more. Inhale, coming back up. Press the left knee over the left ankle, coming back into that low lunge, and we're going to work our way into the pigeon pose. So, top of the foot of the right foot flat to the floor, or you can keep the toes tucked for a little bit more stability. Heel toe the left ankle towards the right wrist, and then lower the left knee over to the left wrist. Okay, so this may already feel like a really deep stretch in the outside of the left hip, and you can work with this. If you wanted to take it deeper, you can gently scooch that right hip back. You can bring that left shin at more of an angle so the left heel comes towards the left hip bone. This takes some of the pressure out of the outside of the left hip. We have a couple of options here. So you can stay nice and upright. You may even want blocks to help support you here and to stay with a tall spine. And what this does, if you lengthen the tailbone towards the floor, this will help stretch out the front of the right thigh. Or on the exhalation, you can begin to walk your hands forward, drop down either to the forearms or the forehead towards the floor, and this should deepen the stretch in the outside of the left hip. If you are feeling pain, however, in the left knee, then I recommend that you just come down onto your back, cross the left ankle over the right thigh. You can work with this, or draw the right shin in towards the chest, deepening the opening around the outside of the left hip. We want to maintain a nice square pelvis, so both hip bones are facing the front of the mat. And I really recommend that if you're finding it hard to stay balanced here, you just support the left sit bone with a block or a cushion. This will take the balance element out of the practice, and it will allow you just to focus on your flexibility and opening up through those hips. Take one more breath in. Exhale, completely surrender to the pose. And then inhale, walk the hands back up if they weren't already. Nice and tall through the spine, tuck the right toes under. Lift those left toes up towards the sky, three-legged dog. Take a stretch and then exhale, release. Okay, fantastic. So from here, we're just gonna come into a seat. So you're welcome to just drop to the shins, sit the hips back to the heels, roll the hips off to one side, and then extend the legs out in front. So we're going to just come into a seated forward fold, just to find the mobility, the flexibility in the backs of the legs. We've been working a little bit with it, so we're just going to put all that together. So I want you to find the sit bones, see if you can locate them. They're two pointy bits on the bottom of the pelvis. And what I want you to visualize is that you're actually going to be rolling over those. So the sit bones, those pointy parts, are almost going to be rolling to the back of the mat, and you're just going to be feeling this lovely deep stretch along the backs of the legs. The chances are, the way the body is, that they're not going to move much, and it's going to be about we're looking to do about 2/3 of the work in the hamstrings and the hips, and about 1/3 of the movement will be in the spine. But what I often see is kind of this movement where most of the work goes into the spine and you get very little stretch to the hamstrings, and this is why so many people end up injuring their spine in this posture. It's a very deep pose. So working just with this, with the spine upright, is fine for today if that's where you are. However, if you are feeling quite open in the backs of the legs, you can hinge forward from the hips, take the hands to the thighs, shins, or peace fingers around the toes, or hands to the outsides of the feet. Lengthen on the inhalation. And then exhale, we fold forward, bringing the chin towards the shin. So I don't expect the chin to reach the shin, but try to focus on lengthening out of the torso just as much as you do focus on folding forwards. So don't worry about getting the head down to the knees or anything like that. Try to imagine that you're becoming horizontal with the upper body. And you should be feeling it in the backs of the legs. If you are feeling compression in the lower back or either side of the back of the pelvis, then I recommend that you just ease out of it. Don't push yourself so far. If you are finding that you're moving into the spinal joints and it's uncomfortable, then pushing it isn't really going to help that. This posture can be one of the most tricky ones for isolating the hamstrings over the spine. So maybe just working with a gentle version will help open up those tissues. Take one more full breath in. Exhale, allow yourself to just surrender a tiny bit deeper. Then inhale, come all the way up, reaching up through those fingertips. And exhale to release. So we're just going to come down onto our back. Very quickly, we're going to take a bridge pose just to open up through the hip flexors and open up around the front side of the body, the abdominals, the chest, pectoral muscles. So bringing the heels in towards the sit bones, you want your ankles to be underneath your knees, your toes face towards each other a tiny bit, and you want your knees to be hips distance apart. Bring your arms alongside the body, palms face down. On the inhalation, before we go anywhere else, I want you to press the lumbar spine into the mat. So the curvature of the spine, I want you to press that down into the mat so the tailbone begins to lift off the mat. And then from there, we lift the hips up towards the sky. Really ground down through the backs of the arms, the back of the shoulders, and the back of the head. This is the foundations, making sure we're evenly distributing the weight between the feet. If you wanted to take it deeper, you can interlace the fingers behind the back, and then one at a time, roll onto the tops of the shoulders. Again, putting the weight in the backs of the arms, the back of the head. Chin continues to draw away from the chest as we open up through the throat. The chest continues to press towards the chin as we breathe into those ribs. Make sure the knees don't splay out to the side. Make sure the feet are grounding. Take one more breath in. And then exhale, release the bind of the arms. Slowly, slowly release one vertebrae at a time back down to the floor. Draw the knees in towards the chest. Have a little squeeze. Draw some circles with the knees. And now we come to rest. So you're welcome to take a full Shavasana, bringing your legs long, bringing the arms alongside the body with the palms facing up, or as this is a morning practice, for some people, taking a Shavasana can end up making you feel sleepy. So if you would prefer to take a seated closing posture and move into more of a meditation practice, then you can come up to a seat with your legs crossed or sit up on a cushion. And you can take Chin Mudra, connecting the index finger and the thumb with the remaining 3 fingers stretched out in front. Regardless of what closing posture you are taking, I recommend that you remain here for at least 5 minutes if you have the time. And I want you to find a stillness of the body, find a heaviness, a grounding element in the body. Find a calmness to the breath. We let the natural slow rhythms happen now. We're not forcing the breath into the ribs. We're just witnessing the breath for how it naturally would travel. And then we are allowing the mind to clear. And we're just bringing it to one focus point, which can be either your breath, if you would like to use the breath as a guide, or the intention, the mantra, the phrase that you set yourself at the beginning of the practice. You can repeat that to yourself over and over again for the next 5 minutes, and hopefully over time you'll notice that this intention and your mind become one unified focus point. You're practicing stillness. Thank you so much for joining me, and I really hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. As you go forward, I wish you peace in your thoughts, peace in your words, and peace in your heart. Namaste.